92 Metacritic score, 9.7 user score. Surely you must be thinking this kind of reception is reserved only for a well-established beloved franchise, right?
Try again, James.
Well, in June 2024, almost a year ago, Sandfall Interactive dropped a banger of a trailer for Clair Obscur Expedition 33, and to my French-speaking folks, I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. The trailer looked absolutely stunning with impressive visuals, cool story idea, and turn-based combat involving parry and quick-time event mechanics, which aren't really a common thing nowadays among JRPGs. And let me tell you, the soundtrack sounded just epic. Like everyone else out there, I was excited to say the least, but usually I find game trailers to be quite misleading. After finishing the game, I can tell you this trailer was kind of misleading as well, but not in the ways you might think, because this game turned out to be something more than just a game for me. I'll try my best to avoid spoiling the story in any way so I can convince y'all who haven't played the game to give this masterpiece a shot. After several videos of me ranting about the current state of gaming and promising myself and my viewers that I will fix my gaming life in 2025, I think I finally found a light at the end of the tunnel. The hype was already built around this game's release and it was available through Game Pass, so there were no additional costs for me. So I thought to myself, it doesn't hurt to try it out since I'd just beaten Final Fantasy Rebirth and I was looking for the next game to play. And let me tell you something, it took me 3 months to spend 80 hours in Final Fantasy Rebirth, but it took me less than 3 weeks to have 63 hours in this game. I don't think a game ever had me this glued to the screen, ever. And I can tell you with absolute certainty, there is no singular aspect of the game that dragged me in this badly on its own, but instead, it was a wonderful symphony of just all-around greatness. I'm aware making a video about a single-player game is very hard without spoiling anything, but I feel like this game has had such a big impact on me while playing it that I'd be doing it a disservice if I didn't talk about it. A small studio of just 30 people managed to make a game that broke me, but at the same time also fixed me. The story premise is fascinating. A catastrophic event called a fracture broke the world apart and threw the city called Lumiere in the middle of the ocean. A mysterious gigantic figure people call the Paintress paints a number 100 on a gigantic monolith, signaling that everyone aged 100 dies. Every year she paints a smaller number, and what's left of humanity sends their oldest on expeditions to defeat the evil Paintress and save the world. 67 years of failed expeditions later, our main cast sets on a hopefully final expedition. And the prologue with an amazing soundtrack and outstanding voice acting sells this premise so well. Right off the bat you become aware that stakes are high and that you can't help but cheer for our protagonists. The overall presentation is almost dreamlike, with beautiful vistas, diverse biomes, and very interesting enemy design. Combine that with out-of-the-world soundtrack and amazing voice acting, and the whole experience is just something that sticks with you for a long time. I know I'm praising the soundtrack and voice acting like for the 3rd time already, but I cannot emphasize enough how good it is. The game is almost too French and it gives it such a unique vibe. From artsy French clothing to giving enemies silly French names, it's just fun and fits so well with the setting. These enemies are called sack of potatoes, and this one is literally called a big head. The list goes on. Just exploring this fascinating world they had created is scratching the itch I thought I'd scratched a long time ago. Since I started my YouTube channel, I've definitely become more self-aware about how I approach semi or fully open worlds, and I'm mostly doing side content as long as it's interesting to me and I'm having fun with it. But with this game, I've had to check basically every corner I've come across and fight every enemy I see. The zones are gorgeous, they're fun to explore and worthwhile because they always give you something. Although sometimes you might not know what route to take, a well-implemented flag checkpoint system will help you easily backtrack in case you suspect you missed something. However, I did find it annoying that there was no manual save system in place. Sometimes a boss would kick my ass and I would need a minute or two to get back to it, and if you repeat that 10 times, you start to get annoyed. However, I found a way to work around this by entering the character menu, changing an ability or two on any character, and then it would trigger an autosave. That's about the only thing I found annoying about Expedition 33. I really like this flag system. It allows you to rest, replenishing your HP and your potions, assign skill points and attribute points to your characters after leveling up, and some other stuff too. I could appreciate not being able to assign the skill and attribute points as soon as I level up, but only at certain stops where resting actually feels like resting, if you know what I mean. Same goes for camps. I could go there, change builds, upgrade weapons when I felt like I needed to, without feeling compulsion to do it as soon as I get something new. For Pictos, it is a different story, but in a way that makes sense, and I'll explain that later. In this camp, you can interact with other characters, bonding with them and learning more about who they are, and it was done in such a relaxing way. I find it very hard to explain, like it's not mandatory to talk to them, but feels rewarding to do so. And the game does give a tangible reward later on, which positively affects your future tendencies to interact with them. Not having a quest log or a map for each area is probably a mixed bag for most people, but for me it felt surprisingly good. Sure, it probably did trigger my OCD to double or triple check some corners, but it also had me interact with the game in a way that I had never done before, because for the first time ever, I wrote a game journal. Sure, it's quite simplistic, and I just wrote the names of zones and what awaits me there if I come back later, but I don't know, it just felt special. Just the fact that I felt the urge to write things down on my own and not having the game write this out for me, it triggered a very personal feeling. Like I was inside of this fantastical dream and I didn't want to forget it when I woke up. If you think I glazed the game already too much, then you're not ready for what's to come. The most glorious aspects of Clair Obscur Expedition 33 are surely the enemy variety and combat. It is a turn-based combat in which you can choose your ability to use, do a base attack, shoot a gun to the target's weak spots, and apply status effects to your enemy, or you can consume an item. However though, when an enemy attacks, you can press parry button at the right time to parry it, and if you do parry the entire sequence of hits in a combo, then you get to counterattack and deal more damage. Now this is where the game shines. The parry window is so tight on expert difficulty that you will often find yourself so locked in and trying to predict the timing. And there is a dodge mechanic as well, and it works well with a slightly looser timing, but it's not nearly as rewarding as parrying, since parrying awards you with more action points that you can consume to cast abilities, results in a counterattack, and simply it just feels better. So for the entire game, I relied on parrying only. I usually comment on parrying mechanics as if it's the best thing that can be put in a game, and I stand behind it because nothing screams untouchable like parrying every single hit. And it is certainly not a simple feat thanks to such a diverse spectrum of enemies, each equipped with different moves, like several different moves. Some of them will require you to parry 20 times in a row, some of them will trick you by having different timings between attacks, and some will require you to jump between parries, and some will require you to not get hit for the entire fight. This motherfucking super boss is probably the hardest fight I've ever experienced in a video game, and beating it without cheesing it or making some kind of one-shot build was extremely satisfying, as I will remember it, the music, the fight, the parrying, the not getting hit for a long time. The characters have such unique playstyles. It's not as simple as character A using frost attacks and character B using fire attacks like in many other turn-based RPGs, but instead, every character has a unique mechanic, a unique system to how they can maximize damage dealt. And also each character has 3 slots for special items called Pictos that give you a boost in stats and also passive effects. And after you win 4 fights with a Picto equipped, its passive effect is extracted as Lumina, which is a different kind of item and can be equipped by several other characters at once, so you can have tons of different builds. If you want to maximize burn afflicted on every single action, you can do it. If you want to maximize the chance to stun enemies fast, That's possible as well. Or maybe you want to parry every single attack so you don't care about your HP at all. You want to rely on parrying only. You can make a super powerful but fragile class cannon build. There were times when I was just under-leveled for a world boss fight, but rethinking the build several times combined with just getting better and better with parrying bore fruit and felt so special. It was not just a matter of devising a strategy or just dying many times to get better at parrying, but it was a unique mixture of both.
What the hell? Oh my God, no way.
I could go on and on about the things I loved about this game, but I don't want to ruin the magic of experiencing it yourselves. Because the game broke me in a way. I won't be able to play another game without trying to measure it up to this one. But at the same time, it fixed me, as I haven't been able to become as enchanted and consumed by a game in a long time. I laughed, I cried, I took notes, I thought about the game all the time and researched, read theories about the story. I was simply too excited to come home and play it. For those 3 weeks, it wasn't just a game. It consumed me instead of me consuming it. It briefly was my life. Expedition 33 sits at the top of critic and user reviews right now, and for a very good reason. Not only it was made by a small-sized team, but it was made with such passion and heart that you can feel it in every single thread that makes this game a blanket I don't want to sleep without. Going back to my initial comparison with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, although they're not that similar despite belonging to the same genre in a way, I couldn't help but compare the two. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has a super fun and tight gameplay, massive open world with tons of content to play, and production value that many games could only dream of, but somehow it felt too calculated, too robotic, and almost too synthetic. Whereas Expedition 33 oozes imagination with a complex yet well-explained story and theme, and enemies that I was too eager to defeat. This game made me choose sides, although I was reluctant to. It made me rethink what a game should be, what I should expect from such an invasive form of entertainment that blesses not only your eyes and ears while toying with your emotions, but also lets you actively participate in it. It also made me wonder, does giving meaning to something make it more real? For those who come after. Wait, is that Shrek's toilet?